Hello, everyone, and welcome to our brand new series, The Theory and Algorithms of Knowledge Tracing. Over the next few videos, we're going to embark on a fascinating journey through the history of a technology that is revolutionizing education, knowledge tracing. In this first chapter, we'll travel back in time to the very beginning, the Foundations era from 1950 to 1989. This is where it all started. Let's dive in. So, what exactly is knowledge tracing? At its core, it's a powerful concept in educational technology. Imagine you have a student using an online learning platform. Every time they answer a question, that's a data point. Knowledge tracing takes all these historical data points, these interaction logs, and uses them to do two amazing things. First, it tries to figure out the student's current level of understanding for each specific topic or skill, what we call a knowledge component. This state is hidden. We can't see it directly. Second, it predicts how the student will perform on future questions. The ultimate goal? To create a truly personalized learning experience, giving each student exactly what they need when they need it. Our story begins in the period we call the Foundations era, roughly from 1950 to 1989. Back then, the field was dominated by psychometrics, the study of measuring intelligence and abilities. Computers were large, expensive, and not very powerful by today's standards. So, the core question was a fundamental one. How can we take a single test score, like a percentage on an exam, and use it to estimate a student's true underlying ability? This chapter will introduce you to the pioneering models that tried to answer this question, models that are still influential today. The first and arguably most influential model from this era is item response theory, or IRT. Think of IRT as a sophisticated ruler for measuring ability. The core idea is beautifully simple. The chance that a student gets a question right depends on a tug of war between the student's ability and the question's difficulty. If a student's ability, represented by the Greek letter theta, is higher than the question's difficulty, B, they are more likely to get it right. This relationship is modeled using a classic S-shaped curve called the logistic function. IRT was revolutionary because it allowed us to compare students and questions on the same scale. However, it's important to remember its main limitation. It gives us a single snapshot of a student's ability at one point in time. It doesn't track how that ability changes as the student learns. Now, what if a test measures more than one skill? A math test might cover both algebra and geometry. This is where multidimensional IRT, or MERT, comes in. MERT takes the core idea of IRT and expands it. Instead of a single ability score, theta, we now have a vector of thetas, one for each skill being measured. It's like upgrading from a simple ruler to a full coordinate system. This allows us to create a much richer profile of a student, pinpointing exactly where their strengths and weaknesses lie across different knowledge components. Moving beyond psychometrics, we also see the rise of early statistical models. First, logistic regression, or LR. LR is incredibly intuitive. It's like creating a formula where you plug in various student features, maybe their past grades, how long they spent on a problem, and each feature gets a weight. The model calculates a total score and uses it to predict the probability of a correct answer. It's a workhorse of machine learning. Then there's naive Bayes. It uses Bayes' theorem from probability theory. Its naive part comes from assuming that all the features we use are independent, which simplifies the math a lot. Think of it as a detective who looks at each piece of evidence separately before making a final conclusion. Next, we have the earliest forms of machine learning. Decision trees are wonderfully interpretable. They work by creating a tree of simple yes-no questions. For example, did the student get the last algebra question right? If yes, go down one branch. If no, go down another. This continues until the tree classifies the student as likely to know or unlikely to know the concept. On the other hand, Bayesian networks tackle a different problem. How do different skills relate to each other? They use a graph structure to show probabilistic dependencies. For instance, a BN can model that understanding algebra is a prerequisite for understanding calculus, making it a powerful tool for structuring a domain's knowledge. All the models we've discussed so far are supervised. They need labeled data, like correct, incorrect answers to learn. K-means is different. It's an unsupervised learning algorithm. It doesn't need labels. Its goal is to find structure in the data by itself. Given a number k, K-means will automatically group students into K clusters based on their similarity across different features. This is incredibly useful for discovering hidden patterns, like identifying distinct learning styles or flagging groups of students who might be struggling in similar ways. So let's wrap up this foundational era. We've seen a variety of models, each with its own approach. IRT gave us the ability ruler, but it's a static measure. MERT expanded this to multiple dimensions. Logistic regression and naive Bayes use statistics to make predictions. Decision trees and Bayesian networks introduced more structured ways of thinking about classification and knowledge relationships. And K-means showed us how to find hidden groups in data. All these models were groundbreaking for their time, but they share a common theme. They were designed for a world of limited data and computing power, and they mostly provided a static picture of a student's ability. They didn't truly trace knowledge over time. That's the challenge the next era would take on. So, we've laid the foundation. These early models were essential steps, but they were missing a crucial element: time. They couldn't capture the dynamic process of learning. In the next chapter, we'll move into the early innovations and refinements era, from 1990 to 2014. Here, we'll meet a true game changer: Bayesian knowledge tracing, or BKT. This was the first model that attempted to model the change in a student's knowledge state as they interacted with learning material. It was the dawn of truly dynamic knowledge tracing. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.